Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this in the morning, 15 minutes. Change our lives. Hachana for Tammuz. This share is sponsored by Rivkie Dubroff in honor of her birthday and the Chaf Sivan. Should have a bracha, begashes, meruchnias. Have a lot of nachas for my children and panasa barchava. And should I go in the ways of limud chassidus and darchach chassidus and should have only good in their life. Okay, so we're going to start the parak Vav today, and basically over halfway. Essentially, what we're talking about, that basically there's two levels of the neshama. The Yid has faith in, and there's two levels of the neshama. There's two types of those. There's mazloi chazi, and two types of emunah. One emunah is called mazloi chazi that your mazel sees. And therefore you connect to the because it sees. You don't need any proofs for this. You saw it. Just like the story I told my son seeing someone driving Shabbos that he thought it was the Pelisha, even though I explained to him that logically that couldn't have happened, but he saw it. So therefore, it was very hard to convince him otherwise. But then there's a deeper level in the neshama, which is sort of what the Rabbeim do, and also it seems like what being Kassis does, is the Esem neshama. That because your neshama is one with Hashem, so therefore it can't be any other way. Mazlai Chazi is ultimately yourself. It's separate. There's you seeing your neshama sees the close. It never has to be. But ultimately there's two things. Whereas the essence of neshama is because it's your essence. It's a whole much deeper level. It's like the story that I gave with the guy that his friend had a snake wrapped around him. So one of them saw it, is Mazlai Chazi. Whereas the other guy, it happened to him, it was the Esem Neshama. He's the Esem Neshama. That's where he became from, where his friend didn't become from. Ultimately, but in the order of the mind by the Frierdiker Rebbe, he sort of discusses 2 points. One point is the Rai Mehemna. It's the Moshe of the generation, or the Mordechai in that generation, or the Frierdiker Rebbe, or our Rebbe. And together with that, there's also this concept of Kassis Islam being crushed in the time of Galus, in the time of Mordechai, and you can see in times of Russia, as we're going to discuss soon. So the question is, which one is it? Like, what does it? What makes this happen? Is it the being crushed, or is it the Rebbe? Both. And that's what we're in the middle of discussing. Ois Vav. Page 362 in this sefer, and whatever sefer you're learning from, the idea is when a yid has Mesiras Nefesh, and he gives himself over for it. It's mainly expressed by the essence of the neshama. Meaning, like we said before, there's two levels. There's the mazloi chazi that your mazel sees. And then there's the essence of your neshama, the essence of neshama, which is the essence of your neshama that's connected. So you're saying that Mesiras Nefesh doesn't mean to die necessarily, but it means to give yourself over. You're totally given over. Now, in order for that to happen, he says, Be'ikr, it's mainly through the etzem neshama. Was the emunah mitzad roya, the emunah that comes from roya that you see, mazlei chazi, that you have a mazel bab seeing it. Hagam, even though it's a very great level, it's very strong, it's very powerful. My son. Or like the guy seeing his friend having a snake wrapped around him. Like it's known that he's amsus. The impression that's created through seeing something, he's amsus. It's very strong. But nevertheless, since ultimately the emunah that you're having is because of a reason, because I saw it. Therefore, mitzad zeshrei, because he saw the it's not connected with the essence of your soul. Like the guy is seeing the snake, seeing his friend being wrapped in the snake. His emunah is deep because he sees it, but it doesn't tap into his essence. So therefore, he doesn't have to change. He doesn't have to give himself totally over. Or in the case of that guy, he doesn't come from. He sees it. Mislay chazi. He saw it very clearly. But that doesn't affect you to actually do something about it. So therefore, When a Yid has Mesiras Nefesh, like Tammuz Mordechai, and they stood strong. They had Mesiras Nefesh with Torah mitzvahs. And when we stand strong, and now it's cautious, and we do Torah mitzvahs. When we stand strong in this, why does that happen? It's because our emunah in the likus, our connection, our belief and our faith in the likus is coming from the essence of who we are. And therefore, changes us. Like the guy that the snake wrapped around him, he became from. Because it affected the etzem neshama. And therefore, it's impossible to go against. And that's b'chol Mesiras Nefesh. When a Yid has Mesiras Nefesh, jumps in and suddenly, I was actually learning this on Shabbos with someone, and I was talking about how there's a stage in my life I wasn't always doing everything 100% perfect, but I ended up I was in a public school at that time, and at a certain point, a long story, but I ended up going to winter camp. So it was 2 nights, 3 days. The only Jewish person from. It wasn't the only Jewish person, but like only half from. And when I was there, I was on this love of mitzvahs. I was davening first thing in the morning. I was extra careful with all the mitzvahs that I wasn't necessarily always so careful. Why? Because Etzem and Neshama was being revealed, and therefore, if shalachver, you can't go against. That's what Etzem and Neshama brings. So according to this, and now we can understand what the Maim is saying. This Moshe is the faithful shepherd. Choose on Mafanis is the emunah that he feeds, is sustains. Emunah gives the emunah that should be pnimius. This is not just for Moshe Rabbeinu, this is for every Moshe Rabbeinu. They strengthen the emunah of a Yid. Sheyamdu b'mesiras nefesh, became Torah mitzvahs. They should stand strong. Torah mitzvahs, like the Tammuz of Mordechai, like you see by the Frierdiker Rebbe, that he gathered the Chassidim and he said, "We're standing strong. We're going to do this. We're going to fight till last drop of blood." He said, and they had underground yeshivas going strong. The l'chayra, the seemingly, this is this the Moshe feeds and sustains the emunah, and like we explained in this, not in the Frierdiker's Maimer and in other places Chassidus, is al yidei shemashpia al Yisrael das l'kus. He gives us knowledge in l'kus. Das. We'll explain what that means in a second. Al yidei zeh ba emunah pnimius, and that causes emunah pnimius. Das is like it says in Tanya, like a feeling. Das is connection. But it's a deep connection. It's a feeling. It's like it says Adam Yadas Chava, Adam knew Chava, he connected with Chava. They had an intimate connection. A relationship with someone versus an intimate relationship with somebody is a whole different level. And this is what Das is. You can know someone very well, you can have a connection with them. So it's like the Chassan and the Kala. They have you decide to get engaged, they dated, they got engaged. They become very connected. But Das is when they get married and have intimacy, the connection that they have now is built at a whole different level. I don't just know you on a level I know you very well, whatever it is. I have an intimate connection. That's Das. Das is taking a subject that we learn, or in this case, emunah, whatever it is. Chassidus wants us to make things to apply it, to bring it down into Das. What's Das is that connection. And so to this moment, we're saying that the Rebbeim and the Moshe Rabbeinu and the Raya Mehem of every generation are imparting that the emunah should be a pnimius and Das, that we should connect to it, has that intimate connection. Das is an intimate connection. Like I explained, like I said before, that it says later on in Tanya, that's also an union of hergish, of feeling. You learn something, you don't just learn it, you feel it. Like it says, we just finished learning. Chanach Nar talks about how to educate a child. And so the foundation of education is imparting a feeling of Avos Hashem Hashem in a child. And even though you'll do it on a level that's young, that's like on the child's level, when he gets older, you'll build on it, but ultimately, you always fall back on this. We have to have an emotion, have a connection. Das is being that connection, that emotion to what we're doing. We're all connected. And that's what the Rebbeim are doing. That he gives us this ability, not just understand the likus, just think about the likus, not just mazloy chazi, but we're connected. We feel it. We feel it in our etzem. That which caused the emunah pnimius. And this that we're saying that every single Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation, the Mesiras Nefesh. We're doing it in a way that should be Mesiras Nefesh. According to what we're saying, we can say the main point of the Rebbe and of the Raya Mehemna of every generation is to strengthen the emunah. The emunah, the Zan Mefanis, feeds and sustains the emunah itself. That a connection to Elikus, connection to Hashem is not just because we have a mazel that sees, or in the right environment, or things that are around us is causing it to happen. But it's Elamitzad Etzem Neshama because of who we are. It's like the Chassidim, when they came out of Russia, in I think it was the early 70s. So they've been, the early 70s, they've been in communist Russia for 50 years. And when they came to America, I think they came to Israel, and the Rebbe paid for the tickets. We had to come to New York to be by the Rebbe of Tishrei. And the Rebbe, they all came in. It was like a group of them. I don't remember how many. And the Rebbe said, he goes, I want you to go as you are, as you're dressed, like the same sort of lavush that they had in Russia. And he says, and go to visit Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. Now, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, he was from Russia. He experienced communism, and he left. He managed to leave. And so they organized cars, and they drove to visit Rabbi Moshe Feinstein in Lower, I think he was in Lower Manhattan, Lower East Side. And they visited him, and he saw them. And he asked the kids, there's a whole story, you can find it online. He had like a whole discussion. He asked the kids, spoke to them Yiddish, and Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was blown away. And he said he tested the kids in the Gemara, and the kids were told, what are you learning? Learn Gemara and Tosfos. And he was blew his mind. He said the kid grew up in communist Russia. These people lived in Russia for 50 years under communism, and he knew what communism was doing to Judaism. And this guy, he's like he's learned, in any other yeshiva, and he was blown away. And also if you pay attention, a lot of the people like Rav Shvei, the Rebbe's, it was the Rav of Tammuz, Rav Shvei's brother that was a Rav he was the Rosh Yeshiva in Montreal, and there's plenty of other people. I think also his name. His name now is a lot of Chassidim that we have now. They grew up in these underground yeshivas, and they become big rabbanim and stuff. They really learned well. So he asked them a few questions. One of the things he asked them, he said, how'd you do it? So what did the Chassidim answer? It's exactly this man. What did they answer? They said in Yiddish, "Bereir hat kahat." We had a choice. Like there was no. And this is what the Rebbe did for them. The Frierdiker Rebbe started like he did it for them, and then the Rebbe continued it, even though they didn't see the Rebbe. But what the Rebbe gave them is this. I don't have a choice. I don't have. It's not. I'm not doing this because it makes sense to me and Mazloy Chazi. Because the Iyah Shalachbar. It's no choice. I have no option out of this. This is what it is. Not that they didn't have an option physically, we just left and could have just become communists. Just do that. But the emunah, the emunah that the Rebbe gave to them, in the Raya Mehemna, it instilled with them this feeling. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. It's like the story of the Chassid that he was in Russia. He was sentenced. He was in trouble, whatever it is. He was working in some prison, and every Shabbos wouldn't work. So what happened was he made a deal. He figured it out somehow, and the rest of the week he worked very hard. And Shabbos he didn't work. He'd sit there in the field on the side next to them, and he would daven and mispeinen, and they left him alone. The guards switched after a few years, and a new set of guards came, and they see this guy. He's not working. Shabbos is not working. This is totally against communist Russia. They made Shabbos a work day. This guy in jail, and he's not working. He said, "What are you doing?" And he was like, I don't work on Shabbos. It's not. And at some point, they tried to force him, started beating him up. And he said, at a certain point, as I was beating him, he's like, just kill me. Like, I can't take this anymore. So the question Shaila is, what do you mean? Just Mechala Shabbos. You have to die, just Mechala Shabbos. Mechala Shabbos wasn't even an option in his head. This is what the Rebbeim gave. This is the emunah Pnimius. And we all have it. For sure we have it. We all express it at a certain point in our life. And the point is we have to learn a little bit more how to see this and recognize this. And this is what we're talking about. Yeah. Just finish this ice quickly. And we can say the bazer I think I skipped a little bit. I guess we'll stop here. Don't want to take up too much time. And tomorrow we'll finish off the ace. So yeah, to be continued tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for joining.